So we're gonna have a mock test today that has basically everything that we have done so far for 7 weeks. And so her role, Bridget's role, is very important for us today. And then, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Bridget, so I'll be leading a fake 2-day workshop or class period. So we'll go through 2 days, but in an hour. And this is meant to be 2 classroom periods of about 50 minutes each or so. So we get started. All right. So first of all, I'm going to pass this around to you guys and just take a look at it. And this is a picture of the flood in part of New Jersey. It shows different homes that are just engulfed by water. It looks like the homes are floating in the water almost. So just kind of think about that for a minute. And amongst yourselves, do you want to sit over there, Tom? Amongst yourselves, think about kind of how this has to do with climate change, or if you think it has to do with climate change at all. So just take like a minute or so and kind of think about that and discuss among yourselves.
Discussing now?
Yeah, discussing now. And find a leader. Group.
Leader? Me?
Yes, leader here. Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about it?
Overall, I think we need to establish more efficient society.
Efficient society?
Yeah, I mean, it's cause and effect, right? And then the first thing I think is verification if this is a real problem or just like, you know, something unrelated. Maybe scientifically there is no way to prove that this is happening because of global warming and it's because of human, you know, we're doing something really terrible. That has to be analyzed first. And I think everybody believes that there's a link. And then if so many people believe there is linked, it's probably correct. I mean, again, there's probably no scientific proof yet. Maybe we're going to understand after 2,000 years, but it looks like we're causing this thing. And then if that's right, then, you know, we should be more efficient. It's definitely a good solution because we waste a lot of things during the day. You know, if you look at newspaper I read in the morning, the coffee that I drink, until the end of the day, I'm going to be using a lot of stuff. And these are all produced, and then at the end of the day, I have a really big trash can. And that's one small, you know, way of looking at things. Of course, that's human usage. There's also factories doing the same thing.
Mustafa is smart.
So why doesn't one person kind of summarize what you think is going on here and maybe what a cause of that might be?
He just summarized what he
How about short,
I
like
just
one
introduced.
sentence?
That was my idea. You guys should continue.
Causes like people in society, perhaps. I mean, we may have caused this flooding as well, but at the same time, because you know the flood comes in and then it gets all the dirt from the land again, this is going to be like a vicious circle. Yeah. So I don't know.
I think it's just scary. I heard that because of the global warming, the ice and then melt down. That's why we have more water. That's why that kind of thing happened, and we need to do something on it.
Alright. Isn't it related to like something in the air, atmosphere?
Yeah. So what was this caused by? Like what was the direct cause? What was this?
Yeah, indirect cause.
greenhouse gas.
That's the word that I'm.
Or sorry,
right
the like what came around that was on the news that everyone was like.
Carbon dioxide,
This-
methane.
But were they saying that on the news? Like, hey guys, the carbon dioxide is coming. Watch out.
Watch out.
So like, what was in the atmosphere? What event happened to make it look like that?
The amount of
What weather event?
Talking about the global warming?
Oh, kind of, a little
Something
bit.
like
But what was
Climate change.
climate change? So it was a hurricane.
Oh,
Obviously this.
Back to the hurricane.
Okay.
But yeah, so it does definitely have to do with the atmosphere, what's in it, what's going on, and we have been seeing different severe weather events all over the globe. So in our atmosphere, it's weird not to have a board, by the way, in the future. So in the atmosphere, there's different gases that are exchanging with all sorts of different things, like the ocean, also interacting with clouds, where there's condensation of different things. There's interactions with mammals and plants and geologic expressions in the world. And all of those have different exchanges of like minerals and gases and elements. And so climate change, what is that? Just maybe one word from each of you.
So average temperature.
Temperature. Next. Climate.
Change.
Change.
Timing of seasons.
Okay, timing, like change. Timing.
Unusual change.
Unusual. Okay, awesome. So a lot of carbon dioxide is the primary cause of climate change today. And so we're going to actually explore the role of plants and specifically trees today. So here's a little handout for you guys. This is made by Jennifer McDonald, who is a master's student in the teaching program for science education at BU. She's a classmate of mine. And so she made this lesson plan, and we're going to kind of look at 3 different stations that I've set up around the room, and 2 of them have to do with this little handout. So we have a station on plants and stomata, and you'll read more about that. It's okay that you don't know what that is right now. And then we'll also have another little one right here. Oops, sorry, that one's the stomata. This one's adhesion and cohesion. And then in the middle, there's pictures of forests. And so each of you, let's see, how should we do this? Maybe one person at each can kind of look at it, and then we'll rotate through the different stations. So you each get a big picture idea of how plants are important, and specifically why trees might be playing a big role in climate change today. So just a quick note for a big picture to keep in mind is that forests and plants take in a lot of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So as they decrease, then there's going to be more carbon dioxide left in the atmosphere. There's definitely some other scientific implications of the importance of forests and the albedo effect, but we won't talk about that today. But why don't you, Tom, start over here at the adhesion and cohesion station, and then do you two, and actually, do you want to sit too?
Yeah, I'm gonna
come in,
participate.
like have 2 and 2, and then Tom, maybe I can sit with you too. So I'll just take probably 5 minutes or so each at these different stations, and I'll come around and kind of help guide you. And so 2 of them have packets of kind of what to look at. This one we're going to simulate because I don't have a pipette. This one is more of an exploratory one to look at the pictures and think about differences you see. And then this one is also just kind of reading and looking. Hmm? It is. Do you want to go into
Yep.
the station? All right, so we'll take about 10 to 15 minutes total, so I'll let you guys know when to rotate. I'm going to come here and ask questions and see how you're doing. So I don't diagram of the water cycle. You have transpiration happening
Oh,
in
I
the
see.
trees. What do you think that plays a role with the water cycle?
It sucks water in the air, dry air, it sucks water.
Similar. Very. You'll learn more about it at this station. But it's good to kind of think about because like look at this one for example. Kenyan rainforest. You can't see it too well in this because it's black and white. But have you guys been to the rainforest before? Or like a cloud forest? So like what's above the trees?
Oh, fog.
Yeah.
Well,
It's kind of like foggy, but it's not quite clouds yet.
Yeah, right.
So like you can kind of keep that in mind
Yeah.
when you're looking at transpiration and how that might
Okay.
think about like how might that affect clouds and then rain, you know, if there's no trees.
Right.
It's like the whole cycle. I mean, it's like kind of chicken and egg. It's the whole cycle. If there's less trees, less water, and if there's less water, then less trees. It's just the whole thing. We need to have more of these things.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna so one more minute.
One more minute for the station or?
Yeah, for your
for the
station and then we'll switch.
We finished.
Switch? No, we are not switching yet. We're gonna have one more minute for, everybody's gonna use one more minute. You're all set? You're done. Okay, we can switch.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Should wait for her another to make sure of it.
Yeah, so this is the leaf, the stomata's on the bottom of the leaf. Perforation. That's the inside of the leaf, like a cross section, but it looks very thick, but it's just like that thin, you know, the thin leaf. But if you use a microscope, you can see all sorts of other things. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, so these are opening and closing depending on different environmental factors, but this is the important thing. So you'll see this actually in the next station. So why don't you guys right over here?
Where's water? Water.
So for this one, I have a quarter out. I don't have a dropper, unfortunately. So have you guys seen a penny that has the water on it and it just kind of like stays? So that's what you can think about.
Okay.
Because I didn't bring droppers today to do the experiment.
what happens in the experiment? You put it here and then
So
Just see the concept of it.
Yeah, and so like when you are putting drops on a penny, like the dropper, the water stays. It doesn't just like kind of spill everywhere.
Water.
Yeah. Also, I did have a penny. So as you start to put more water on it, the bubble gets bigger, and it doesn't just like flatten and spill everywhere because of cohesion. Because it's sticking to the penny, and then all the water molecules are sticking to themselves.
so they stay together.
Mhm.
Kind of, they don't sweat. That's
Yeah.
the experiment. So what do you understand from that experiment?
So, let's see.
Highly smart.
Yeah, so you continue reading. So here's the little.
Oh yeah, that was actually my next question.
Yeah. So, and then you'll see in the next page too why that's important. So just kind of read through those. So for this one, I want you to focus on this little image right here. So it's continual. There's no start and no end. So think about transpiration, which you'll learn about in this.
You know the difference between
Yeah, or in
nature
your
and
packet.
I just learned.
And think about like how that has to do with cloud
So,
formation.
appropriate level.
So I want you to look at these. Look at these pictures. Yeah. So look at the forests and just think about like where the forests are located.
difference between adhesion and cohesion.
Perfect.
Seriously.
Excellent. I'm glad. So, how do you thinking about that transpiration now? Where do plants get water from?
Soil.
Soil.
So where do water in soil get water from?
Where does the tree get the water?
Well, so once it's in the soil, how does it come out of the leaves? How does it travel
I'm
between
really like feeling tired this morning. I hardly woke up.
Adhesion and
that space?
And then
That
there was a
is-
particular problem.
yeah.
Exactly.
Petrol.
That's space.
So there was
So,
I'm
oh,
really
that's exactly, yeah, last page.
Did you start
Yeah,
with it?
so,
we are doing
because it has to travel,
Really?
it's
Oh,
bringing
you're in the
that water up, and
station.
you're going to learn about how it actually comes out of the leaves. And
I didn't get, I understood the concept. One thing I couldn't understand is, yes, there's adhesion and cohesion. How does it really suck it? Like, it's like not
So,
like the coin
yeah.
experiment. I couldn't just connect the dots.
That's fine. So it's more physics is involved that I actually don't know too much with, but there's something to do with the forcing of it going up, and there's a physics student in our class who also had this question of like, why does it go up though? And it's actually because, as you'll see with the stomata, the next one, there's actually a pulling of the water out of the stomata, out of the leaves. And so that single drawing action helps the whole thing just go up.
I see. Okay.
But it's more physics is involved. Hello.
Hi.
Why don't you join this group right here? So just kind of look at forest cover in the world.
Hold the napkin
And I want
upside
you to
down.
think too about like
Roll the
rainforest
napkin
and
and then touch it and
what's
then see
above
how it
the
sucks up.
trees in the rainforest, and then look at this water
I
cycle.
can do that.
And think about transpiration here and how that might influence cloud formation.
It's gonna suck, right?
So this is directly
Slowly.
from here. There's
how does
a lot of
it go?
other
It's very
factors
interesting.
involved with cloud formation.
What does it go?
Depends on the
It's not like there's no
molecules.
vacuum filling the vent and like that. Something is not sucking either.
Mhm.
It just travels.
There's no direct
It's an energy
arrow,
thing actually.
but
Free energy.
there's a big connection. But it depends on some other factors too, which
Free
we won't
energy,
get
like, if
into
you just
today, but
can't-
I just want you to get the
Like, it's
idea of
somewhere
transpiration
standing.
and how it's
Move from
forming
one to the other one
cloud,
without
or like how it
causing
might
energy.
impact
If I do the
clouds.
napkin test right now, am I gonna use an energy? Like zero.
Just the wind, you know,
Or
like
just its
as
own thing.
clouds can get bigger,
It's gonna
because
move.
they have, it's called nucleation sites. That's where they start, and then like more and more water
Go to
molecules will
Eastern.
stick to each other, and then like as wind might blow them together, you might get more clouds forming. And then as they get bigger and heavier, then that's when they're going to rain. So yeah, so really think about like this picture. This is actually supposed to be a bunch of foggy sort of looking stuff above the Kenyan rainforest. It's very
Maybe you can buy an animal.
yeah. Alright, and probably about 30 more seconds. How's this group doing? Learn about the stomata? Oh, yes. Alright, just want to point out in here, do you guys see a connection with the cohesion and adhesion? As this is coming out, what do you think is happening in the plant?
We are typically behaving like kids. Like you're supposed to stay there and then you go.
But I've read some research, like also adult learners look like children, like when they are in the classes, you know, like they're 40 or something. There are some articles on that, like
Yeah,
they
I like
behave
being like this.
yeah, 10 years old.
And where's that water coming from in the first
I need to
place?
go to
Soil.
toilet or like, you know, I'm thirsty.
How does it get to
Really,
the
like there
soil?
are research on that.
The
Interesting.
rain, how does the rain, where's rain from? How does clouds form? How do the clouds form?
Evaporation makes trees like this.
Okay, alright, now you can rotate.
So if we have a
And
napkin,
mhm.
if you want to do this test,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in how this thing works. So if you put a napkin then, put it in some kind of like, touch. If you put a napkin here on
Yeah.
top of this thing, it's going to just slowly suck it up, just like a tree then.
Yeah, it would probably do it quickly though, because once you perturb that system, it'll go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm going to keep it upside down and just touch it like in a very small soft spot, and then watch it
So we come
to
here?
move along all the way up, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Finish that.
It's pretty.
Okay, you're
Why
finished,
does
so
it
we are
move?
here
I
now.
still don't get it.
Yeah.
It's more physics.
I know, but
again.
it's just interesting, right?
It is really interesting.
You
Alright,
don't
so
apply any energy to it. It's
come to.
Student who has lots of
I'm
questions.
glad. This is great. This is great. I'm glad to see the excitement happening.
Motivation in the class.
Yeah. So for this exercise, A, I only quarter, and B, I don't actually have a drop. It's literally like something that you squeeze the top of, and then a little drop of water comes out. So, but usually, have you guys seen the picture of a penny or something with water on top, and it's almost like a dome? No?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
First person.
Maybe I'll get the animation.
I will look up a picture for you to show you in just a minute. So, go ahead and read through this, but when a penny has water on it, then it's
Exactly what
all
it's
the water is kind of sticking together and
obviously
it's
it's
not
gonna work,
really
but
spreading
what you
out
see-
at all.
Like, if you do it flat, everybody knows it sucks, right? It's gonna, start sucking because that's why it's.
I'm looking at the
here.
picture.
But now if
Yeah.
you do
So
like
there's
this,
a better
how long
picture
it's gonna
of it,
take
like
to
a
go up?
dome, and you
Do
can
you think
really
it's gonna go
see
all the
the
way
water molecules are
or
sticking
just it's
to
gonna
each
stop
other.
somewhere?
I think it's gonna go all the up because like the tissue is a little small for it. Or
Physics. Cohesion.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna it. I'm just gonna let
There's a
touch.
lot more physics
one portion.
in this,
Like,
but
I'm
we
gonna
won't
just
you're
a
gonna
little
hold
hit on
it.
the
You're
physics.
gonna hold it like that.
I'm gonna hold it
Today.
or I'm gonna
Today.
it take a while. I'm gonna
Today.
fix it somewhere.
Okay, this is good.
Science experiment, just we will do an experiment.
Oh, perfect.
So I don't know how we can.
So there comes the picture.
No, we are just gonna try to touch this thing a little bit, and we wanna watch if this is gonna go all the way up. So we are doing like, is it gonna go up and then stop here, or do you think the whole thing is gonna get wet? Just by like touching a little bit.
Experience is not gonna go up to the end.
Where is it gonna stop?
I don't know, somewhere in the middle.
Depends on how much you're gonna do.
Now I'm gonna dip.
Is there a continued?
Then we can do the second experiment. I'm just gonna dip a little bit, but I have to just like.
Alright, we have 3 minutes
3 minutes.
remaining at each station.
He's a future scientist here.
It's gonna explode.
And then I have a question for you.
No, the thing is, I have to hold it like for 3 minutes. I don't want to hold it for. All right, now
Just
dipping.
Well, while you hold it,
Okay,
I
now we
will
have.
kind of
Oh,
investigate
oh, it's going.
what other-
It's right there now.
We should have used the colored water so that we could see it.
Here's the
I don't know what's happening right now.
They're the microscope and they're located under the leaves.
Oh,
So
I-
just for
under
like,
the.
yeah, so it's like a type of protection.
It's getting heavy. I can't feel
But
it.
this is direct sunlight, so they're very sensitive.
Oh, it's going up.
But so do you see this part? Did you read through that packet? Okay, here, why don't actually let me look at that really quickly first. How is it going?
It's like 70%.
Oh. And how about you? How are you doing?
It's fine, I'm just looking.
Okay.
No, not yet.
I don't know.
They are distracting me.
So also look at those forest pictures for those of you who are at the forest station.
So we are here.
Also.
We are doing the first phase.
How are you gonna handle with discipline issues?
What?
I think this is a great teaching moment actually
Okay.
because it brings in the experimentation.
Great.
However, while Mustafa does this, the others can look at the forest
Yeah,
station.
you can concentrate on the
Look at the pictures.
forest. Thank you. I'm the best student.
I'm always excited to have happy,
Yes, a tiny
interested
paper.
students. Yes. So yeah, look at the forest color. So this is, yep, all the forests, the major forests. And so this is, yeah, they're just different forest pictures from around the world.
Like different habitat of Amazon forest or about the deforestation?
I believe so. So we have, it's when it's like the moist, so this is showing moisture, how moist that the Amazon forest is. So it's darker
great.
when it's like the most moist, meaning that there's probably a lot of that mist that you might think about in a cloud forest or in a rainforest. So Kenya, believe it or not many people know Kenya has a rainforest. It's called a tropical rainforest. But so you see, this is supposed to be fogginess. You can't see it too well in the black and white. But think about this, and then in the water cycle, how trees are releasing water from, we saw the stomata picture, how that might affect cloud formation and this whole cycle, and just kind of think about it in the bigger picture of tree cover in the world, and the importance, like why might we need trees?
I know it now. So when the water comes here,
Oh,
like way
it's stuck.
through like here, all these are taking the water.
95?
Yeah.
Wow, really?
And did you go to that school?
Maybe it goes.
No.
Okay, so I'll fill you in so you missed it. So the leaves actually also have this thing called stomata. All right, 30 seconds. A stomata like this, and it's actually on one side of the leaf. And as carbon dioxide goes into the leaf, water and oxygen come out when it's open.
I can't hold
When
it.
it's closed, it doesn't do any of that. And so as you see the adhesion and cohesion, that's what is enabling water to come out of the
Wow.
leaves, kind of create that
Unbelievable.
mistiness of the forest
Thanks
and
for the
assist with
test.
cloud formation or
It's a
keeping
great
the whole
idea.
environment moist. And
Just did the easy
also,
way, but this-
hugely important is that it's taking in that
It
carbon
works.
dioxide.
It takes
We
a while
talked
though.
about just a little bit earlier how carbon dioxide is the biggest gas that's contributing to climate change. And so trees are very important in absorbing all of that. So carbon and also water regulation.
So interesting.
Yeah, here's that picture. Or it's coming. I guess it didn't load all the way yet. We'll see if it loads. All right, so why don't we all take a seat again? Back in your seat. So we went about 5 minutes over. That's okay though. What did we conclude about the experiment that you conducted?
It went all the way up. So if we wait, I think that sucks
Well-
the water. After a while, it's going to evaporate. Transpiration, right?
Transpiration?
Transpiration is going to happen, but you know, it's not going to become clouds, obviously.
Yep.
But that proves that that thing works.
Perfect. I'm glad you proved it for us.
Thank you.
So that actually, instead of transpiration, it'll just evaporate because transpiration is specific to the stoma on the leaf, the stomata. Stoma is the singular, stomata is plural. So now that we've all gone through the stations, can I have a leader tell me one or two things of how these all connect, kind of the big story of this? Yeah. And can you explain that for us?
So on the earth there is a big cycle of water. As you mentioned, the water, trees evaporate the water, make water evaporate into the air, and the water vapor becomes cloud, and it makes the rainfall into the ground, and then ground contains water, soil contains the water, and then again the tree absorbs the water on the ground. It is a big cycle.
Perfect.
All
Thank
of these
you.
elements is in this cycle.
So I have two more questions now for you. Why are clouds important besides maybe rainfall? How might they impact the soil or the weather or the temperature? Let's say it's a really hot day outside. Why might you want clouds? They can produce more rain, prevent droughts,
Cooling down.
No
help
noise.
cool down. Yep, exactly. So like prevent overheating. you
About
say
the
anything?
role of cloud.
Huh?
You're talking about the role of cloud.
Mhm. And I heard moist over
Yeah.
here. Yep. So keeps everything more moist. It keeps a good habitat, essentially. And you know, people want to live in good habitats. So you can think about that. And then the connection to climate is we saw in the stomata one is what happens when water is coming out of a stoma? What else is going in? CO2. Perfect. So without water, then the leaves aren't going to open, the stoma aren't going to open to let CO2 in. If there's not trees that are growing there in general, that also can't happen. And so a good statistic to think about that I want to propose to you guys is about 1/5 of the world's carbon dioxide is actually absorbed by trees. And so what did we see in the forest station? Was there a problem going on somewhere? Besides the little water cycle one, but the pictures. Deforestation. Yep. And there are also like the pine beetle kill, which is just a different event that is climate related as well. But yeah, deforestation or just loss of tree cover. So it's really important. I'm going to show you a little tiny slideshow super quickly. So I want to now propose another thing for you guys, each of you. Thank you. So the Greenbelt movement is what I'm going to talk about now, and that's essentially a movement that started in Kenya, and it was started by a great leader. And so what I want to do with this activity, and in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, and into tomorrow for our day 2, will be to look at the roles that we can take as leaders in helping to mitigate climate change issues through tree planting. And this is what a great leader of Kenya did. She passed away a year ago. And that's not her, but there will be a picture of her in just a moment. So we're going to just kind of think about the role of trees, how it affects climate, and how we can impact that by planting trees. You want to do that for me while I talk?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks. So it's always good to know where, oops, yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Go back. It's always good to know where we're talking about. So Kenya is right here, has a tropical forest, which I didn't realize until I learned about the Greenbelt movement. Can go to the next one. And this is Wangari Maathai, she was the first woman PhD in Africa. She started this amazing movement in 1977, and it was a movement that was about activism because the government was deforesting a lot of their forests, and it was leading to a lot of issues with poverty, nutrition, because as we just talked about, the trees are very important to keeping a healthy environment. And without the trees, you get an unhealthy environment, and if you can't grow food, you probably aren't eating very good food. You're probably starting to eat more processed foods instead of eating food from gardens and fresh food. And so through this movement, she and millions of other people have planted 40 million trees, and they start out like this. So just think about the impact that has on coverage of trees and maybe also carbon dioxide. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. So with carbon dioxide, I always like to point out this graph for climate change. So for the past 400,000 years, we see these changes in CO2, and there's different ice ages that happen, and so there's fluctuations, there's always like high levels of CO2, or there's really high temperatures. However, none of these periods have experienced such high carbon dioxide levels, and also the rate is the very important key here, because you can see that in such a short time, there's a massive spike of carbon dioxide. And today I believe it's at 390 parts per million in the atmosphere. Can you go ahead to the next one? Oops. Yeah. So raising CO2 levels worldwide, a problem. Okay, so again, the trees absorb about 1/5 of the world's carbon dioxide. 20% of the world's rainforests have been cut down. Kenya, I heard, so you were saying that with trees, without trees, and that means like less clouds, without clouds, it's going to be hotter, right? Were you the one that said that? Someone said that. It's like hotter, so you like the clouds to keep cooler.
Oh yeah.
Or sorry, yeah, you said it opposite.
Yeah.
To stay cool. So Kenya has experienced 16% increase in hot days per year. It's quite significant. And there's also increasing drought in Africa and other places. So these are all impacts of deforestation or impacts of forests. So this is one of the pictures that was in the station. And as you can see, there's this big sort of foggy cloud lingering over the trees. And this Kenyan rainforest really shows how transpiration leads to the release of moisture into the air. And this is all from the soil. So the soil gets the water. Tom, actually, you summarized it pretty well. Do you mind saying that again with the cycle of the water? Just from that little map.
How can I say?
You got it. Yeah.
So trees makes water evaporate into water from the soil.
Yep. And what do we see here?
Clouds.
Yep, some clouds, and more clouds there are. We get rain. What does that do to the soil?
Yeah.
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 It makes it moist. It makes it wet. Yeah, so thank you. So it's very important for that. And then again, just to remind you how I said earlier, when the stomata are open, that's also when the CO2 can go into the leaves and absorb from the atmosphere. Okay, thanks. So it's just, these are in color, so I just wanted to show you guys. There's a big forest in South America called the Amazon. So that is the world's lungs. And you can actually think about the rainforests being lungs taking in carbon dioxide, and they release oxygen. And so it's opposite for us. We breathe in that oxygen and then breathe out carbon dioxide. But we're also breathing out carbon dioxide through our lifestyles of having cars and a lot of consumption and producing a lot of materials that require energy, which is burning fossil fuels, and all of the energy and fossil fuel and like gas when you're putting it in your car, all of that is creating carbon dioxide. So, Wangari Maathai, the wonderful leader from Kenya, she said, she was at first actually a scientist, and she noticed one day that a river was, it was red and kind of muddy looking after the rainstorm. And before, when she was growing up, it used to be black after the rainstorm, and that was like rich nutrient water, and it was clean water. And when you see red or dirty water, that means that there's a lot of soil coming into the river. Do you guys have an idea of how roots work in soil? Yeah, can you say it louder?
It's called the roots are holding the soil. Yeah. When she saw the red type of water, that means that there are less trees, so there's red the roots, and less roots are holding the soil.
Perfect, exactly. So she was like, oh, there's less trees, and she started realizing that there's a lot of problems happening because of deforestation. So she said, the more I look into the environment and the more I looked into the problems that people were complaining about, especially women, the the more I understood what we were complaining about were the symptoms, and that we needed to understand the causes of those symptoms. So the cause was that deforestation was happening across Kenya. Go ahead. Thanks. So her solution was planting trees and planning of different ideas and movements and empowering people to make changes. And so with empowerment, you need leadership, and she was a great leader in this environmental movement. And she actually won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for doing this amazing project. Go ahead to the next one. So this is just kind of a little picture of women that are starting a tree nursery. And so you can see all of these tiny little things are single trees. And all across Kenya, there are people doing this, and they're starting to grow up trees. There's a big education component involved, and there's always leaders. Each person is a leader, or there's a leader who takes on that project and applies to start to become part of the Greenbelt movement. And so you can see down here also there's small rows of these different trees, and this is called a nursery. And so they're getting bigger and bigger. And the particular trees that they were planting were those that are going to grow fast, so that they can start to change their environment more quickly than a big, long time growing tree. So this is to help, yep, you can go ahead to the next one. This is to help women especially become empowered, because they're traditionally the caretakers and also were in charge of getting water, wood, collecting firewood, all sorts of things that have to do with trees and that are impacted by trees. And so, thank you. There's a whole movement, and this is just a cool little activism picture of people putting together their work and becoming leaders to change their country, and also it's changing the climate, because it's helping to absorb more carbon dioxide. So this is a big move, is actually if you go to their website, which I'll have you do for homework later, watch some of the video clips. There's a big education movement with all of this, and there's actually some lesson plans for other teachers who are out there, and students can get involved and learn how to make their own little project that they want to do. And it also teaches farmers how to start tree nurseries. It started, and there's little school projects to help getting different movements started. So, go ahead to the next. This is a network of where the Greenbelt movement has gone so far. And so I'd like to propose the next thing is for you guys to come up with your own projects. And we're going to, let's see, I suppose we'll go into day 2 now. We can go to the next slide. I think, yeah, the next slide might just be, yeah, our little hummingbird movie. We're going to just watch it again really quickly, and we're going to adopt the sense of we're our own leader. I'm going to give you guys roll cards, and you'll come up with a project that is community-based and has a theme of New England because it connects to us. Or you could also research a project that's already going on that might be similar, and bring that into the classroom too. So you can go ahead and watch the little hummingbird video quickly. After the 10-second advertisement.
Oh, it's just like my big DSLR, so the photos look amazing.
Okay. 2 minutes.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face, and sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out, and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, puts it on the fire, and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small, you can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always be like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
All right. Perfect. So you are all going to become hummingbirds. Yay! So I'd like all of you to get together now into a small group, and you're going to brainstorm an activity that you could do that's either has to do with trees, or it could be with any kind of climate change events, but think about what climate events are happening in your community and brainstorm a project in the next few minutes. Or 5 minutes or so. Let's do 5 minutes. And just because it's 11 now. But each of you got a little card, and it's a role, and you can swap with other people if you feel like your role, if you think you're a different kind of role. So why don't you start from here and go around the circle and just say what your role is, and you can switch, and then we'll start brainstorming.
Mine is you decide.
Okay, you decide. So that's like a free, that's like a free card.
So I would decide like organizer or manager.
Organizers here.
Let's go around.
It's okay.
Do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm gonna be organizer.
Alright.
No, I will wait later.
Okay.
On camera, show some personality, be an anchorman, a talk show host, or an air person of your choice.
Documenter.
Investigator. So I'm going to interview people and collect data.
Creator, write, design, show the world your art.
Excellent. So all of these roles, you can choose what you want to do. So why don't you think about it in your group, and if there's a specific role, like you could be the time manager, could be the time manager, or assistant director, could be the hummingbird. So come into a little group, and I want you to work on an idea for 5 minutes or so. Here's a notepad if you'd like. And yeah, you're going to basically carry out a project that I want you to communicate. Sorry, this is actually not as relevant.
Not now.
It'll be a project like making a Glogster, or something you can communicate with United Classrooms later, or something that you can take to your town council and present to them. So this is a project for your community, again, that you are going to communicate to the world somehow, whether it's locally or large scale, but try to think of like a New England theme that we can implement here in our community in Boston or Massachusetts. So go ahead. Gather.
Okay. Can I present my idea too?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So my idea is, since I observed a lot of people using the plastic bag in grocery store, so I want to kind of have a campaign that, so people bring their own bag to the grocery shop. So I want to have like, have a goal like 100 or 200 people, the signature, and say that okay, I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna use the plastic bag in the grocery. I'm using my one bag.
Awesome. What if someone says, why not paper?
Paper, steel.
Function.
Yeah, it's still a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to cut down the trees.
Yeah.
It's more sustainable if we use our own materials. But maybe it's a way to like really campaign to shops, like in Europe, for example, if they are selling healthy ones, like recycled ones, with like pay, like with some kind of, if you have to buy, then people are bringing their own bags.
Right. Well, actually, in my country, they charge the plastic bag.
Yeah, the same in Finland or Germany, for example.
Oh.
You need to pay something, so
Right,
then
right.
people are bringing their own bags.
Right.
So maybe it's responsibility to, if we do such a project, maybe we should do with the shops.
Right. Or actually, when they trash they sell the trash bag. It's super expensive. So people, they are so careful about the recycling, so they don't have to put a lot of things in the trash bag.
Yes, I'm recommending
It's
it.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So since they are also like
I want you to start
produced
writing.
from a valuable clean material, so they're expensive. Then you have to buy one from the shop every day and then buy the bag.
So take on your roles, so you can start documenting and writing down, even though we have it typed up, but just so you have a little practice with these role cards. And so you were the communicator, so you would,
I'm Oprah.
so you would basically, you could like talk about it, present it,
And then communicate, like
mm-hmm.
facilitate in
Yeah.
a way for people to
Yeah,
present their ideas.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm facilitator.
okay. And you would be organizing, kind of how I'm integrating right now.
Okay. So you're doing a good job.
Yes,
So
organizer.
to do this project, I think we need to
Yeah, it's
go
great.
around
I think
outside.
it is a great
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
and then try to.
So let's figure out what we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to have
So
a
it would
list
be
of the
something
big
like,
groceries
do you want
around
to
this
take pictures of
community.
different
Yeah.
things to
Yeah,
communicate
and let's
the
go
message,
together.
or
And you
We
will
can
be
go
responsible.
people in the
on the
Yeah,
blog
so
or
you
kind
will be
of
responsible
different
to go
icons
there
and
and
pictures
make
of
up,
things
what
to
kind of
make it
questions we have to
visually
do and how
appealing,
to
so your
approach.
message can
But
be
first we need to
effectively
prepare
communicated.
some kind of template, for example,
Exactly.
why
What's
we are
this?
worrying and why.
Pardon?
And then
Blogster.
also
Yeah,
like
I mean, I
emphasizing
haven't-
with two
I
lines
heard it
maybe,
last week
what
for
will be their
my-
benefits,
it was my
because
first
also
time
like,
hear about it.
they can contribute to
It's like, yeah,
like,
it's basically a
how
good
many
like
times?
poster.
Two
So instead of
two lines
making
of the
your own
sentence
Yeah.
poster,
why
so
and
then they
why
can
there's
produce healthy bags
it's
and also
online.
sell them
There's
like
all
to
kinds of
customers,
graphics
instead of
available,
producing cheap and
different fonts,
unhealthy
it's
ones.
a fun little like,
But
design
also in a
website,
way they
but
can promote
it's one
people to
little
bring their
sheet
own bags
and it's
to
you
shop.
can like post it
Because
on
it will be
Twitter
more
or
economic
you can
and
post
also,
it to
but then
blogs and
we
so
need
it's like
to
you're sharing
make
your
very
poster.
clear why.
But it's
why
just
we are
called Blogster because that's the
and
name
in a
of
short
it.
time
But it's basically an online poster that integrates. You can put like video on it.
exactly, or
put
also shops are very so
icons.
busy, so we need to make very clear statement why.
Yeah, or you
Oh,
can,
Chong
you
is
can
the designer.
email it as an
Oh,
attachment, like a flyer, or you can post it
Oh,
on
okay,
the
I was like,
website.
I'm taking
Um,
seriously.
You can put it on
Lost
Pinterest.
Pinterest.
You know, and it's like, oh, you can make this up as a point of interest for people to look at.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
First of all, like it's responsibility, community responsibility to contribute to healthy
Talking about,
environment.
make a one paper that, like to produce, to introduce other people that why we are doing this.
Yeah, I was thinking actually, like, what if we have some sort of fundraising event and then people come and then with that money we can make a bag that people can use,
Oh, that's nice.
and then encouraging them to use that bag.
Also, this
instead of
bag can go
plastic
to for planting trees, for example, or something else.
bags.
Like,
Yeah, and then we can put some message on it.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah.
Can I jump in?
and these
Yeah.
bags could be made of like recycled material, like old material, for
Yes,
instance.
there's actually the Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts has a lesson plan on how to turn an old T-shirt into a bag, and it's actually really cute. And so, what if there's an event where it's like, let's bring old T-shirts or bring whatever, let's make our own bags, and then you pay for that workshop, and that money goes towards buying trees. So it's like you're
Yeah, that's
like
really
seedlings or
nice.
something.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like
very
you're
good.
creating your own bag, vetoing plastic and paper bags, and planting trees.
That's
It's
good.
really fun.
Okay. So what was your role?
My work creator.
Creator.
Designer, so you can help to design
Yeah.
the bags.
Design like the message, or like
Yeah.
design.
The
Because
bags.
you want to
and-
communicate this project
Yeah.
somehow. So,
So you prepare the slogans or whatever it's going
Yeah.
to be.
Okay.
so for the rest of the class period, the students would work on this project, essentially.
We were losing ourselves in the roles.
And the one last question that I forgot to ask about was what makes a good leader? And I wanted to ask that before I talked about Hungary Matai, and like how different leaders throughout history have done great things in any kind of sector, including science, of course. So, anyways, thank you. That's pretty much it. And this is like a mini exercise, I guess. You've become a tree advocate. You and your group need to design a solution for your community to reforest a deforested portion of land or a community tree planting plan. And then these are just like following sort of guiding questions, like why is your forest important to your community? But we kind of talked about that. Why is it important to global climate? And then propose a community project and specify the leadership within that project. So, yeah.
Thank you for doing
You're welcome.
You were going to make this challenge. I think you were really well prepared and you really know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Really.
Yeah.
Good
But
job.
in terms of leadership education, I think people may have some comments or suggestions.
Mhm.
So I think
think so.
for about 5 minutes we can talk about that.
Okay. And P.S. there is a lesson plan about this if you guys
Oh.
want it. That my friend
The
made.
topic itself was really interesting because you kind of encourage the students to think about how it's related to the world. Like first even we talk about the cell, what's happening in the little cell of the tree and the soil and the atmosphere and everything as a whole cycle, and we show the whole world we have, and so that's really helped me to have the sense of the how the whole system is working in the global aspect. I like that a lot. And also more sorry. And this one is really good that you actually give them the title of them, so they have the ownership. Okay, I own, for example, I own the creation part, I own the communication part, so I'm in charge of that. That really helps to have the sense of the leadership for the kids. I like it.
I have another opinion about how leadership such about this green movement, and we found out that this organization gives 10 cents for one tree, sustainable one tree. So if a woman plant a tree and it turns out that the plant actually growing, the organization gives 10 cents for them. And this monetary benefit actually motivates people to get into this movement. And so she took responsibility of their time of investigating into this movement. That's really important thing, I think. Without this, nobody could continue this movement.
And it's like an accountability of, are you still taking care of the trees? Are you following up on the care of this tree that we're giving you? And if you are, then we'll pay you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because if you don't have some sort of accountability and possibly an incentive, because certainly monetary value is a big incentive for many people, then I think it is difficult to kind of implement another kind of plan or strategy for a change.
And
Good
another
point.
aspect is that mainly this movement is conducted by women. So women got money from this organization. So their voice within the family and community increased significantly. So this woman contributes to both environment and society, human rights for society. So that's, I think, the great thing.
How about the leadership integration for introducing leaders? In the beginning, should that be like the class before, or should that also be integrated with this first sort of thing? Because there's a lot happening with the stations, the project, but the project is introduced the second day. But also I want to introduce the leadership of anyone, you know, males and females.
I was also thinking about it, but I'm not sure how it can work out. I think it's better if we can introduce that woman before they actually go into the subject.
Actually, I disagree with this because, like, I don't, you know, maybe they don't know much about that. So I was thinking like it's the right moment. So they might just come up with, okay, why shall I know about that? You know, like before knowing these things. So I don't know, but I disagree with like the idea. Like maybe it's good to give them, and also it was very good that they are all interlinked, like the stations. They're not like other things. So I think it's very strength of your lesson. And to give them an idea what is really going on, and then it was the right moment, at least for me, to give them what happened and like very clear, very concrete project somebody did somewhere to make them think what they can do in New England. So for me, like it would be a bit like odd to say, okay, like I don't care why if she has done it like the trees. I don't know anything so much about that.
Yeah, what I'm thinking, not directly telling students what she did, but kind of just like implicitly give them some idea of leadership. I don't know how we can do it, but otherwise, if I just go into class, right, I would say it is just a normal biology class. I mean, at first, at least, I have no idea about what leadership is. Right? The second day, I know it's about leadership. So, I mean, not maybe first use this one, but use other ways to kind of give them have some idea about leaders. I don't know how to do
Well,
it.
maybe also introducing before the lesson a different leader in photosynthesis or, you know, just like plant biology to just kind of ignite the thought of leaders and discoverers or pioneers in some sort of field that's connected to the stations, and then start to tie it into the
When
tree
we are going
movement.
to the station, can we also assign the roles like organizer, what use?
Yeah.
Someone take notes, someone's documenter.
Mhm.
We can use this when they are doing station work.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a really good idea. And also the station should have worksheets usually that you're filling out.
Yeah, exactly. I was
I
just
really
saying
love
that.
the
tend to
idea
make-
of assigning the roles.
Like with the group together, like for different parts, station 1, 2, 3. So like because you were also asking some critical, okay, what do you see in this picture? Like what's the
Yeah.
problem? So like in the time period, it might just get lost. So
Exactly.
it's good to have like kind of a paper, station 1, what we have
Yeah.
observed.
We can have the guiding questions, and then also you use this to assign the roles.
Yeah.
And next
Okay.
they use this again.
So
Yeah.
then it's good to take a couple of notes, you know, a couple of sentences. What was the problem with this picture, for example, before you explain and what I think. So it would be helpful.
Do you think having one worksheet per group would be a good idea?
Yeah, somebody writes.
So that there's a writer and then maybe someone who's like, oh, say
Yeah.
this. Maybe someone who says, okay, next page, or
Yeah.
does the experiment.
Yeah,
Things
we
like
agreed
that.
or then we disagreed, but then
Oh, and then have each group first talk to each other, and then you ask the question, how did you see the connection? I mean,
Yeah, definitely. So after the stations are all done, then
yeah,
maybe
first have them talk to each
have
other.
everyone talk.
So
Maybe it could be a, what's it called? Fishbowl? I forget the name, but there's some educational strategy where one representative from each group meets with other representatives of the other group, but it's like, so if you guys were a group, you're a group, and you're a group, then you would go together, you would go together, and we would go together. So it's not the whole class trying to talk to each other without teacher facilitation, but it's
take
instead
leadership.
all of the
take
groups
leadership.
kind of switch around,
and just one like
and then we talk about connections.
suggestion. I wouldn't do all these different methods in one class. Like I would do them in different because
Yeah.
then they really get exhausted. Like
Mhm.
having so many activities in
Yeah.
90 minutes or 45 minutes. So maybe doing this in different classes would be maybe.
Okay. Do you think that for discussing the stations, they could just stay in their own, because they all visited each station, so they don't necessarily have to talk with other groups, but it would be nice to interact with other people.
Maybe it would be like very briefly, like just to tell to like what they think, or I don't know, like maybe they can answer together to the class, like when, because afterwards you were asking like why do you think this is important, or etc. So maybe when you come to class, like when you gather all ideas, then like somebody from the groups can say we thought, we agreed, or we disagreed. So then all class can communicate.
Okay. Yeah. Like that. Glad you're recording this. I'm gonna take a picture.
Good.
Do you think also after, when I'm transitioning into the PowerPoint presentation, talking about leadership then and asking the question, so this is a leader that we see from Kenya who is a woman and she's accomplished so much. What are some leadership qualities? Maybe I could give the presentation either just about her life of 2 minutes or something, and like what the movement is about, what she started, and then say, okay, break off into pairs and decide a couple of qualities. Like turn to your neighbor and talk about what's a leadership quality. Make a list of like 2 or 3 things, and then like I'll just call on people to say, oh, what do you think, and we'll make a class list at the front.
Good qualities of a good leader.
Yeah, and then that can be a guideline also for while groups break out into their project sessions. They can refer to that list at the front of the class to help guide them, be like, oh, is our group displaying this or displaying that? Oh, are we going to do this or that? So, do you guys like that, or is that too much?
I like that. You definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. In the beginning of maybe the second class, or would that be in the first class? With
Maybe second class,
Yeah.
because then they can process in their mind after
Okay.
this first class, like seeing green belt movement, because you started like building up the knowledge, what's going on, and then show the concrete project and a leadership. So then they will process, because you were also mentioning you will give an assignment or homework you mentioned.
Or
Yeah.
just do it at the end of one, so they can go back home and when other leaders in the sense.
Oh yeah, that could be their homework. It's like find leaders, and then the next day talk with a partner. What are the leadership qualities?
Yeah, it can be an assignment, and then when they are back for the second lesson, then they can just with their neighbor talk 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What they thought, and make a list of 2, 3, and then whole class just can say what they think very briefly, like 10 seconds, and then
Yeah.
you
I
just
like that.
make it in the beginning what the class thinks good qualities of a good leader.
And we can say here's a list of what leaders did you find, so it's,
Other ones maybe.
so
they
we
find.
noticed that, we've looked at a lot of different leaders in the world from different areas,
Yeah.
different fields, and say what do they have in common?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good assignment.
What do you think?
Fine.
It sounded like, do you? Those are from the roll cards are from the Smithsonian Institute, the Education Lab, so it's called Ed Lab, or the Mobile Learning Lab. They have
From
online,
Boston University?
from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
So if you go online, I can send out their website.
Yeah, please,
If
if you can do it.
And they have a digital toolkit for online technologies for
Oh, wow.
education, and they also have these roll cards that you can print out as well.
Are they for free that you can download? Oh, perfect.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, they also have a week-long workshop in the summertime for educators, which is really great, and it's free as well.
Wow, amazing.
Send
If you
us.
could send the link, it would be great.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks for your great comments and suggestions, and thanks to Bridget. more class, and then hopefully, next February, right? If
Yeah.
she actually does this class with students, and then we can get some feedback, we can communicate on that, and then we will let you know how it goes.
Yeah, that would be perfect to know.
It'll either be late February or probably in March because I start in late February. But this would be a great way to start because they also have the science fair projects anyways. So
That's great. Thank you. So it seems like officially our workshop is finished, and as we announced the day before yesterday, so we are gonna have some interviews, and I'm gonna leave you guys over here with Sook, and then we're gonna pick up some lunch. So we'll be back soon.
All right. Great.
Great.
That's proud.
thank you guys.
I want you to be my